Morning, guys. Paul here. Welcome to the Anfield View. Hope you're all keeping well. Time to really kick on with some Liverpool news straight off the bat. Let's go. It's on. Yes, Victor Munoz is joining us from Osasuna. Well, I think it's a sell-on clause that's going back to Real Madrid as well. So for 40 million euros, I believe it's 34.6 million pounds, and I think 20 million of it may be going to Real Madrid as well. So yeah, I've spent some time really looking at him. He's a winger. He's come from the La Masia of Barcelona, obviously their highly touted youth system. He's gone from there, and he's ironically joined Real Madrid's youth system and done really well for Real Madrid Castilla. And from there, he's gone on to do great things at Osasuna as well. Was widely regarded to be potentially joining Newcastle as of pretty much yesterday. So we've come in and really activated that release clause, agreed personal terms. I think it's all sort of done and dusted, pretty much all she wrote on that front. I think, look, my initial thoughts really are, guys, as I've said on sort of numerous posts, we all understand that the likelihood of us getting two marquee wingers, i.e., Barcola and Andy, it is really just not going to happen, is it? I mean, we're realistic on that front for a multitude of reasons. One, we don't have the budget. Two, we've obviously got Rio behind that as well. Three, we're not really sure what's happening with the Gakpo situation. And four, you've still got Verts and Ekateke and Isak and all those different high-profile players to fit in to the lineup. So for a multitude of reasons, for me, it was always going to be one marquee, as in sort of top, ready to go sort of winger at this level. That person could be a Barcola, it could be Yandy. I'm not sure who else it could be after those two options, frankly, but they're ready. That looks like we've got a lot of irons in the fire, and at least getting one of those two over the line. On rumours say we're far away down the line with Yandy. Let's just see on that one, mainly because he hasn't hid the fact that he wants to play for PSG, and so when that's always in the background, only needs PSG to really come forward with an offer, and he's going to probably choose them over us. So we shall see. But it just did really focusing down on sort of Victor Munoz. Look, at the end of the day, from what I've seen, he's it's hard to judge out and out speed, because until you're in the Premier League up against very quick fullbacks, you can't really get a full sort of gauge as to how quick somebody is. I mean, he's definitely not slow. Ultimately, a lot of his performances are against obviously lower level to some extent, and at youth levels, it is quite hard to really get a proper sort of feel for just how rapid he is. One of the key things with Sadio Mane, and one of the things that I always was impressed with when he was at Southampton, is he ripped us to shreds on multiple occasions. And obviously, we didn't have Virgil van Dijk in our defence then, but he literally ripped us apart. And you could see on multiple fronts. One, he's finishing, he's tenacious, and his speed and his physicality was why I was always convinced he was going to be a great signing. And it proved to be the case. In this situation, it's a little bit more of a punt for sure, because obviously it's a step up for himself. But we have to be realistic. We were looking at a marquee signing on on one wing, and maybe somewhere around the sort of 20 to 30 millions ish. I was kicking around the sort of Jared Bowen, mainly because I thought if Ekateke was fit, I wouldn't have. But because Ekateke isn't fit until who knows when, I felt that that would cover us on the left and the right. So essentially a bit of an upgraded version of Gakpo, on that front. But so we shall see. I mean, look, I'm happy that we've got another winger, and he looks like he's got a lot of composure when it comes to finishing. Looks like his creativity's there as well, and so look, he's more of a winger than what Gakpo is. I mean, Gakpo's just not a winger, and he's not an inverted forward either, if that makes sense. I mean, you could look. Salah especially was more of an inverted forward. He's not a 10, he's not a striker, but he's not a winger either, really. Mane was more of an out and out winger that as a break glass option as the years went on could play up the top, but he wasn't really a striker. And as Salah wasn't really, he could create from the wing, but he wasn't really a winger. He, used to want to really cut inside mainly, to be honest. Whilst he did create, he created a lot more in sort of towards the end of his career than in his absolute sort of peak. Yeah, I'm optimistic. I mean, he's got 34 appearances and 6 goals for Osasuna, but I think that you can boost that up to maybe 10 by playing with the quality that we have as well. He has a lot of good attributes. I like some of his finishes with the outside of the boot. That always shows me that someone has got class, and has got composure. There's a lot of strikers out that just you never see finish with the outside of the boot, and so that does tick a good box for me. He places a lot of his finishing as well, which is good. And he can finish at the near post. And for me, the true marksman when they, Thierry Henry sort of made a living dining out with the finish into the goalkeeper's far corner, where he just constantly just slot it right, pinpoint into the corner day after day. So I think, look, in terms of the smaller signing, as it were, look, we needed 2 wingers. There was going to be one very, very expensive one. There was going to be one that was around this level. This is the one that's around this level. If Yan Diomede is the next one that comes in, that would be the 2 wingers that we've been asking for. You've then got Rio, you've then got Gakpo, and you've got a break glass option of in emergencies. If Gakpo leaves, then whether the club decide to buy another wing, my general viewpoint is if Gakpo leaves and if McAllister leaves, then invariably you've got to replace them. I don't believe they can just be used as tools to bring the net spend down. There's a little bit of a fear that I have on that is we do have a habit of always finding, if we can leave ourselves one short to save money, we usually do. We've done it in defence for years where I wanted 5, would go with 4. And this is what I wouldn't want Gakpo being sold to then not replace him. There's just no logic to it. As much as I think we should get rid of Gakpo and get an upgraded version. I don't want to just get rid of him just to bring the net spend down because I think our squad's way too small as it is. So yeah, well, welcome to Liverpool. You never walk alone. Victor Munoz, as I say, 34.6 million from Osasuna. He's got all the credentials, fantastic youth product, La Masia, then obviously Real Madrid youth, with Real Madrid set reserve team as well from there, Real Madrid Castilla. Look, ultimately he's in the Spain squad for the World Cup at the moment. He's playing for Real Madrid. You can't fault where his sort of rise in terms of his tutelage within football. And so from what I've seen, absolutely, I think that looks pretty good value for money. It's not often you say that in the football world at the moment, but sure. I mean, I think that's a pretty good deal at that price on that front. So, as I say, all eyes down is now that's transfer number 1. We've got transfer number 2, which is hopefully the other winger, which we all would expect to be a Bradley Barcola or a Yan Diomede, and then transfer number 3 has to be that defensive midfielder. Whether we end up getting a central midfielder, as in Adam Wharton, I love Adam Wharton, I generally do, but I would ideally like to have a full-on defensive midfielder, ideally, purely because I just think that with a young defence and an old Van Dijk, Kirker's trying to learn his ropes, question marks over right back, the fact that nobody in the midfield can defend. Ultimately, I think we're crying out for that person. So once we've got those 3 players in, hopefully, fingers crossed, then I ideally would like to bolster the squad, but who knows? I ultimately don't know the war chest that Liverpool are playing with this summer, but that's one deal done. So that's one of the 3 absolute essential buys to be done. We now need to get the more pivotal buy. Don't get me wrong; they're both pivotal. The more pivotal buy would be the defensive midfielder for me, and then obviously, of course, Yan Diomede, and then from there, whatever we do after that. Look, the more we do after that, the more confident I will be in terms of just how well we can do it in terms of trophies next year. But equally, you can't argue, look, if we do get Yan Diomede in, to have him with Munoz and Rio was going to put us in a much better position, isn't it, than last year when we obviously had Mo falling off. we had no winger on the left side because that's really not Gakpo's forte, as we found out, and we knew anyway. Ultimately, we knew anyway. Gakpo, exceeded in the year he competed with Diaz, but he's not a winger. He's just not. Gakpo does what Gakpo does. We all know what he does. He cuts in and goes for the shot. He's pretty good at finishing, but he's not immense at creativity. And so for me, as a squad rotation, absolutely. As somebody that you can pin your life on to really carry the ball, get you out of trouble, really create that much, it's just not really his forte. But as I say, my only hope is that if Gakpo or McAllister do go, it's not purely there just to bring the net spend down. Ultimately, that's I know we've all got to balance the books, but equally when we've got so little depth as it is, and there's only so far we can do on that. Last summer we tried to do that, and we just almost sold the house to get the luxury car, which is pretty much we bought 2 luxury cars last summer and sort of sold the house to do it, didn't we? Really, and then the cars, ironically, didn't have any fuel, to use that analogy. But yeah, Victor Munoz, welcome to Liverpool. You never walk alone. We all look forward to exciting times with you playing for the club. And let's go from there, guys. We'll do some more posts on the transfer activity as and when it happens. And so that's number 1 on the taxi rank. That's good, not too bad. Transfer window only just opened this week, so that's pretty good. Let's get number 2 wrapped up in terms of DME or Barcola, either or I'm happy with. Then let's go all out for the defensive midfielder. And then once we've done those 3, the chips will fall as in that, look, we'd all like to have a right back that can play at centre back, or a centre back that can play at right back, like Arsenal, to have a bit of cover and experience. We'd all like to have somebody that could maybe help out why Ekateki's not going to be fit, because we know Isak can't play 3 games a week. And we'd all love to have a surplus in midfield. There's a few key things for me. Like, I want to see more depth, but crucially, I'll worry about that once we've got the next 2 over the line in terms of the high value winger, the high value defensive midfielder. Once they're done, then it's down to depth. Really don't want to see Curtis Jones go personally. I'd rather McAllister went, really, just purely for the makeup of where we're at within the team and where he's at. It just seems illogical to keep McAllister and let Jones go, but we may not have no choice, really on that one. But I'm hoping we can persuade Curtis, to really stay within the team. But, time will tell on that front, when it, guys. So look forward to speaking to you more soon. Feel free to like and subscribe for all reminders of when I put up the videos. And, you enjoy the rest of your week and the World Cup. Take care. Bye-bye.